What if I told you the man who perfectly mocked corporate life, office politics, and toxic bosses ended his own life surrounded by controversy, isolation, and a painful illness? Today's story is not just about a comic strip. It's about fame, power, downfall, and a final goodbye that shocked the world. This is the full story of Scott Adams. Scott Adams was not just a cartoonist. For millions of people around the world, he was the voice of the frustrated employee. His comic strip, Dilbert, became a global phenomenon, published in thousands of newspapers, translated into dozens of languages, and pinned on office walls everywhere. But behind the humor, there was controversy, illness, and a deeply polarizing personality. And today, January 13th, 2026, the world woke up to the news. Scott Adams has passed away at the age of 68 after a long battle with cancer. So how did a man who made people laugh every day end his journey like this? Let's rewind. Scott Adams was born in 1957 in New York. Unlike many artists, he didn't start as a creative genius living in a studio. He worked regular corporate jobs, office jobs, cubicles, meetings that went nowhere. And that's where Dilbert was born. In 1989, Scott Adams introduced the world to Dilbert, the socially awkward engineer, Dogbert, the cynical, power-hungry dog, and a workplace full of clueless managers. People immediately connected. Why? Because Dilbert wasn't fantasy, it was reality. By the mid-1990s, Dilbert was published in over 2,000 newspapers. Scott Adams became a multi-millionaire. Books, calendars, TV shows, everything sold. Scott Adams became one of the most successful cartoonists in history. But success didn't change him. It amplified him. As his influence grew, so did his confidence. Scott Adams wasn't shy. He spoke boldly, sometimes brutally. He started podcasts, wrote books about persuasion, success, and politics. And slowly, people noticed something changing. His humor became sharper, his opinions louder, and his tolerance for criticism almost zero. Scott Adams believed he was smarter than most people, and he said it openly. Fans laughed, critics warned, and then the controversies began. Over the years, Scott Adams made multiple controversial public statements, especially around race, politics, society. Many called his comments offensive. Others defended him as misunderstood or brutally honest. But in 2023, everything exploded. Major newspapers across the United States dropped Dilbert completely. Overnight, Scott Adams lost distribution, reputation, longtime supporters. For the first time, the man who mocked corporate firings was effectively fired by the media world. Scott Adams responded the only way he knew how, by doubling down. No apology, no retreat, and behind the scenes, his health was collapsing. While the public argued online, Scott Adams was fighting something far worse. He was diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer, a form that spread to his bones. Pain became constant. Energy disappeared. Life slowed down. In interviews, Scott Adams admitted he was in daily pain. The cancer was terminal. He had entered hospice care, yet even then, he continued posting. Some saw bravery. Others saw bitterness, but one thing was clear: the man who made millions laugh was suffering quietly. On January 13, 2026, news broke across international media. Scott Adams had passed away at 68 years old. No dramatic announcement, no farewell post, just silence. Supporters mourned the loss of a creative genius. Critics reminded the world of his controversial legacy. Scott Adams left behind a historic comic strip, a divided public opinion, and a complicated legacy. So how should history remember Scott Adams? As a brilliant satirist who exposed workplace insanity, or a cautionary tale about ego, controversy, and isolation? The truth is, both. Scott Adams changed office humor forever, but he also proved that fame without empathy can be dangerous. His life reminds us you can be talented, successful, and still lose control of your narrative. Scott Adams is gone, but Dilbert will live on in cubicles, memes, and memories. Love him or hate him, his impact cannot be erased. What do you think? Was Scott Adams misunderstood, or did he cross too many lines? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more real stories behind famous names, subscribe now, because behind every joke, there's always a story.